So, we're studying Bhagavad Gita, and we have come to chapter 11, the vision of God in his universal form. Now, this is one of the things that it's a kind of a neglected chapter of the Gita, because even Arjuna cannot hold this vision. But so much there is to learn. So let's go ahead and dive deep into what Arjuna experiences and what Krishna says. Arjuna, by your grace, you have taught me the truth about the Atman. Your words are mystic and sublime. They have dispelled my ignorance. Now, this is quite a remark from Arjuna. It means that he has assimilated, that he is taken seriously in the moment when Krishna is saying the things that he said in the first 10 chapters. It means that Arjuna, having the ability to concentrate his mind, has assimilated these teachings. And he says, you have dispelled my ignorance. From you, whose eyes are like the lotus flowers, I have learnt in detail of the origin and dissolution of creatures, and of your own infinite glory. O Supreme Lord, you are as you describe yourself to be. I do not doubt that. Nevertheless, I long to behold your divine form. If you find me worthy of that vision, then reveal to me, O Master of Yogis, your changeless Atman. Sri Krishna, behold, O Prince, my divine forms, hundreds upon thousands, various in kind, various in color and shape. Behold the Adityas and the Vasus and the Rudras and the Asvins and the Maruts. Behold many wonders, O descendant of Bharata, that no man has seen before. O conqueror of sloth, remarking on Arjuna's ability to assimilate what he'd already told him. O conqueror of sloth, this very day you shall behold the whole universe with all things animate and inert, made one within the body of mind. And whatever else you desire to see, that you shall see also. But you cannot see me thus with those human eyes. Therefore I give you divine sight. Behold, this is my yoga power. Now, this is one of the few instances in the Gita where Sanjaya, the narrator, remember Sanjaya is the one who has been given clairaudience and clairvoyance, so that at a distance from what's going on the battlefield of the war, he's able to see what's going on and tell Dhritarashtra, the blind king, about it. So Sanjaya says, Sanjaya, then, O king, when he had spoken these words, Sri Krishna, master of all yogis, revealed to Arjuna his transcendent, divine form, speaking from innumerable mouths, seeing with a myriad eyes of many marvelous aspects, adorned with countless divine ornaments, brandishing all kinds of heavenly weapons, wearing celestial garlands and the raiment of paradise, anointed with the perfumes of heavenly fragrance, full of revelations, resplendent, boundless, of ubiquitous regard. So, Sanjaya is clearly seeing, along with Arjuna, what it is that Sri Krishna is revealing. Sanjaya goes on. Suppose 1,000 suns should rise together into the sky. Such is the glory of the shape of infinite God. So let's just ponder on that a moment. Suppose 1,000 suns were to rise into the sky. We can't imagine that. We can't really hold that thought. But the idea is of unimaginable brilliance, overwhelming effulgence. Then the son of Pandu, Arjuna, then the son of Pandu beheld the entire universe in all its multitudinous diversity, lodged as one being within the body of the God of gods. Then was Arjuna, the Lord of mighty riches, overcome with wonder. His hair stood erect. He bowed low before God in adoration and clasped his hands and spoke. Ah, my God, I see all gods within your body, each in his degree, the multitude of creatures. See Lord Brahma throned upon the lotus. See all the sages and the holy serpents. See Lord Brahma throned upon the lotus. See all the sages and the holy serpents. Universal form I see without limit, infinite of arms, eyes, mouths, and bellies. See and find no end, midst, or beginning. Crowned with diadems, you wield the mace and the discus, shining every way. The eyes shrink from your splendor. Brilliant like the sun, like fire, blazing, boundless. You are all we know, supreme beyond man's measure. This world's sure-set plinth and refuge never shaken. Plinth means a kind of foundation. And refuge never shaken. Guardian of eternal law, life's sole undying, birthless, deathless, yours the strength titanic, million-armed, the sun and moon your eyeballs, fiery-faced, you blast the world to ashes. Now, we can, if we look to physics, we can find analogs for some of these things that he's saying. For example, astronomers, astrophysicists, have noted that the star Betelgeuse is showing all of the indications of a sign about to, showing all the signs of a star about to go nova, or because of the size of Betelgeuse, perhaps supernova. If that happens, if it just goes nova, that is, explodes, first implodes and then explodes, implodes because it's exhausted its supply of nuclear fuel, it then implodes and then explodes. And if it just goes nova, it would, as it says here, blast the worlds to ashes for 2 light years in a sphere around itself. So these are not just words. These are not just some ideas. This is facts. Fiery faced, you blast the world to ashes. Fill the sky's 4 corners. Span the chasm, sundering heaven from earth. Superb and awful is your form that marks the 3 worlds that makes the 3 worlds tremble. Superb and awful is your form that makes the 3 worlds tremble. The 3 worlds being waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep, or alternatively, waking consciousness, our ordinary consciousness, our active subconscious, and our latent subconscious or unconsciousness. Superb and awful is your form that makes the 3 worlds tremble. Into you, the companies of devas enter with clasped hands in dread and wonder. Into you, the companies of devas enter with clasped hands in dread and wonder, crying peace, shanti, crying shanti, the rishis and the siddhas, the rishis and the siddhas, the perfected ones, crying peace, the rishis and the siddhas sing your praise with hymns of adoration. Adityas and Rudras, Sandhyas, Vishwas, Ashwins, Maruts, and Vasus, the hosts of the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, Ushmapas, and Siddhas. All of them gaze upon you in amazement. At the sight of this, your shape stupendous, full of mouths and eyes, feet, thighs, and bellies, terrible with fangs. O mighty master, all the worlds are fear-struck, even as I am. When I see you, Vishnu, omnipresent, shouldering the sky in the hues of rainbow, with your mouths agape and flame eyes with your mouths agape and flame eyes strain. All my peace is gone. All my heart is troubled. So he's seeing all this, and as it overwhelms him, he says now this: all my peace is gone, my heart is troubled. Now with frightful tusks, your mouths are gnashing, flaring like the fires of doomsday morning. North, south, east, and west seem all confounded. In other words, all the directions that seem meaningless. North, south, east, and west seem all confounded. Lord of Devas, world's abode, have mercy. Dhritarashtra's offspring, many a monarch, Dhritarashtra's offspring, many a monarch, Bhishma, Drona, and the sons of and the sons of Kama. There they go, with your own warriors also, hurrying to your jaws, wide-fanged and hideous. See where mangled heads lie crushed between them. Swift as many rivers, streaming to the ocean, rush the heroes to your fiery gullets, moth-like to meet the flame of their destruction. Headlong these plunge into you and perish. Licking with your burning tongues, devouring all the worlds, you probe the heights of heaven with intolerable beams, O Vishnu. Tell me who you are and were from the beginning. You of aspect grim, O God of gods, be gracious. Take my homage, Lord. From me your ways are hidden. Sri Krishna, I come as time, the waster of peoples, ready for that hour that ripens to their ruin. All these hosts must die. Strike, stay your hand, no matter. All these hosts must die. Strike, in other words, use your sword or bow. Strike, stay your hand, no matter. Therefore strike. With kingdom, wealth, and glory, Arjuna, arise, O ambidextrous bowman. With kingdom, wealth, and glory, Arjuna, arise, O ambidextrous bowman. Seem to slay. By me these men are slain already. You but smite the dead, the doomed devoted heroes. Jaya, Drata, Drona, Bhishma, Kama, fight and have no fear. The foe is yours to conquer. Sanjaya. After Arjuna had heard these words of the Lord Krishna, he folded his palms and bowed down trembling. Prostrating himself with great fear, he addressed Krishna once more in a choking voice. Arjuna, well it is the world delights to do your honor. At the sight of you, O master of the senses, demons scatter every way in terror, and the hosts of siddhas bow adoring. I remind you, siddhas are the perfected souls. They become ever free souls. There were a number of these among Sri Ramakrishna's disciples. A half a dozen of his disciples were these siddhas. One of them, of course, was Vivekananda. Mightiest, how should they indeed withhold their homage? O prime cause of all, even Brahma the beginner, deathless world's abode, the Lord of Devas, you are what is not, what is, and what transcends them. There's something beyond what is and is not. You are what is not, what is, and what transcends them. You are the first and the highest in heaven, O ancient spirit. It is within you the cosmos rests in safety. Now, this is one of the things that if you read the testimony of the saints over and over and over, they say that they repeat in various ways by their own experience this. You are the first about the divine person, the divine being. You are first and highest in heaven, O ancient spirit. It is within you the cosmos rests in safety. even though it doesn't seem so to us. And even though there are all these terrible forms of the Lord that were described earlier. You are known and knower, God of all our striving, endless in your change. Remember, Krishna says, I come as time. Endless in your change, your body, you body forth creation. You body forth, in other words, manifest creation. Lord of fire and death, of wind and moon and waters, Father of the born and this world's father's father, hail all, hail to you, 1,000 salutations. Take our salutations, Lord, from every quarter, infinite of insight and boundless in your glory. You are all that is, since everywhere we find you. Carelessly I called you Krishna, and my comrade took undying God for friend and fellow mortal, overbold with love, unconscious of your greatness. Often I would jest, familiar, as we feasted, midst the throng, or walked, or lay at rest together. Did my words offend? Forgive me, Lord eternal, author of this world, the unmoved and the moving. You alone are fit for worship, you the highest. Of course, Arjuna would never have been able to behave that way if Krishna had not wanted him to be that way. He drew a veil over his eyes so that he didn't see the form that is worthy of 1,000 salutations. He saw the form of his friend and teacher, Krishna. You alone are fit for worship, you the highest. Where in the three worlds shall any find your equal? Therefore I bow down, prostrate, and ask for pardon. Now forgive me, God, as friend forgives his comrade, father forgives son, and man his dearest lover. I have seen what no man ever saw before me. Deep is my delight, but still my dread is greater. Show me now your other form, O Lord, be gracious. 1,000-membered, universal being, show me your shape I knew of old, the forearm. And by this he means, of course, Vishnu, not Krishna. Krishna appeared to us as an ordinary mortal. But Arjuna's depth of spiritual experience was such that he also knew Krishna as Vishnu. But even knowing him as Vishnu, he could still see him as friend and comrade. With your diadem and mace, these are aspects of Vishnu. With your diadem and mace, the discus bearer, Sri Krishna, this my form of fire, worldwide, supreme, primeval, this my form of fire, worldwide, supreme, primeval, manifest by yoga power, alone of all men, Arjuna, I showed to you because I love you. Neither through sacrifice, nor study of the Vedas, nor strict austerities, nor alms, nor rituals shall this my shape be viewed by any mortal other than you, O hero of the Pandus. Now you need fear no more, nor be bewildered, seeing me so terrible. Be glad, take courage. Look, here I am transformed as first you knew me. Sanjaya. Having spoken thus to Arjuna, Krishna appeared in his own shape. The great souled one, assuming once more his mild and pleasing form, brought peace to him in his terror. Arjuna. O Krishna, now I see your pleasant human form. I am myself again. Sri Krishna. That shape of mine which you have seen is very difficult to behold. Even the devas themselves are always longing to see it. Neither by study of the Vedas, nor by austerities, nor by almsgiving, nor by rituals can I be seen as you have seen me. Notice that within just a couple of paragraphs, this litany is repeated. Neither by study of the Vedas, nor by austerities, nor by almsgiving, nor by rituals can I be seen. We must plunge deep in meditation in order to have the vision of God. Can I be seen as you have seen me? But by single-minded and intense devotion, which is a way of saying meditation. But by single-minded and intense devotion, that form of mind may be completely known and seen and entered into, O consumer of the foe. What does this mean? He said, no one has ever seen, no human being has ever seen this. We lose our humanness in the intensity of that single-minded devotion. We may return to it, but as Vivekananda said, when you can still the vibrations in the mind stuff, when you can still the vrittis in the chitta, your universe disappears. And that which you are beholds and is one with what Arjuna saw. Through single-minded, intense devotion, that form of mind may be completely known and seen and entered into, O consumer of the foe, O consumer of the foe. Whosoever works for me alone, makes me his only goal, and is devoted to me free from attachment and without hatred toward any creature. Now let me just repeat. Krishna is once again saying what is required if we are to to attain to this transcendent state. Whosoever works for me alone, makes me his only goal, and is devoted to me, free from attachment, and without hatred toward any creature. Why does he mention without hatred toward any creature? Because he just showed Arjuna that he is every one of those creatures. So how can you hate that? Even though it may seem dreadful, even though it may do terrible things. Without hatred toward any creature, that man, O Prince, shall enter into me. Okay, so we have read and made some commentary on this chapter of Arjuna seeing the divine form of they fully seeing the divine form of that which is. As we see, it's no longer confined to Krishna. He has to return to the Krishna form to be recognizable to Arjuna. So before we go ahead into chapter 12, the Yoga of Devotion, are there any comments or questions? This is what we do when we study the art of spirituality together. So anything at all from anyone?
Brother Shankara?
Yes.
Students, I do have a question.
Yes.
About this chapter, I've always wondered if the picture that is painted of the divine here is more of a literal or figurative one.
How do we know? What is beyond? What is it that is beyond our world of the senses? As long as we're confined to the vibrations of our mind and of the universe as we experience it through the vibrations in the mind, we don't know. I'm going to assert, simply based on what I've heard from the Swamis and on having myself studied this now since 1967, that what is being told is the truth. But does the truth of that magnitude fit into words? Therefore, your question, is it literal or figurative? It has to be figurative, because it cannot possibly be reduced to words. It's beyond our grasp of concept. So Sanjaya and the description that he gives and what Arjuna experiences is an attempt to describe the indescribable. Does that answer it at all?
Yes, Brother Shankara. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Well, if there's anything else, please let's pursue it. If
there's not really. It's just that it's kind of mind-blowing, you know?
Yes,
kind of
yes, mind-blowing. I agree.
It's that chapter that it was like, I was trying to figure out if it was like more of a literal, you know, picture, or if that was like, no, this is the way it is kind of thing. And you're right, I don't think we can know.
It is the way it is, but
Yeah.
it can't be reduced to language.
Words.
But
Okay.
when you say mind-blowing, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be.
Okay.
It's meant to set us back on our heels. If you think you have any grasp of the divine, think again. You must, as long as we are having a dualistic experience, we will not understand these words, not fully. It's only when we are able to go beyond, even for a moment in meditation, that we get some glimpse of what it is that is being described here. And you're so right, mind-blowing. I heard Brahmadas chime in with agreement. Yes, indeed.
Yes. And I think it's notable that this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita found its place into American history. The phrase, suppose 1,000 suns should rise together into the sky, such is the glory of the shape of infinite God. And I'll follow it up with, all the worlds are fear-struck, even as I am. All my peace is gone, my heart is troubled. The physicist Julius Oppenheimer quoted this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita when he witnessed the atomic bomb exploding.
Yes, and he said, we have become Shiva. He also said, we have become Shiva. And that's one of the reasons that in front of that Hadron Collider, the one in Switzerland that shares part of Switzerland and France, the Large Hadron Collider, there is an image of the Shiva Nataraj in front of that CERN, C-E-R-N, facility. We are become Shiva, the destroyer, that which transforms. Yes, Oppenheimer, by the way, was very, very familiar with the Gita. He was a student of the Gita. He corresponded a lot with Aldous Huxley, who was Swami Prabhavananda's disciple.
And when Krishna says, behold the Adityas and the Vasus and the Rudras and the Ashwins and the Maruts, it hit me because we have a devotee named Aditya. So it says in the footnotes, classes of celestial beings. So I guess an Aditya is kind of like a deva. Is that what?
Well, yes. In a literal sense, his name means sun, like the sun in the sky.
Like the sun. Okay.
That is itself a celestial being. And we if we're being attentive, we say a salutation every morning. Om Surya Namaha, Om Surya Namaha, Om Surya Namaha. So yes, these are classes of celestial beings, and but they all, it's interesting, all of them yearn to take human form, because it's only in human form that they have the ability to study the reflection of the divine in their own consciousness.
So as terrible as this human life seems, it's a great blessing because it's our only chance to have these visions of God. Is that correct?
That's exactly it. That is the first grace. Being born as a human is the first grace. The second grace is the desire for transcendental understanding, to go beyond the limitations of the ordinariness of sense life. And the third grace is a qualified teacher. And if we yearn for a qualified teacher, one will appear in our lives. It may take you 4 or 5 years of this yearning. After that period, Swami Prabhavananda appeared. He drew me to him. So, but the promise is made over and over that it is your yearning that draws you to the qualified teacher. The yearning that's a part of that second grace, in Sanskrit, mumukshutva. The fourth grace is the grace of your own mind. When there is sufficient purification of the ego, the ripe ego, then, as Sri Ramakrishna says, you become like an expert dancer. You cannot put a foot wrong. Anything else before we go on? This is wonderful.
Shankara, questions.
Yes?
One is this the description of that form of Krishna? Is that description of another way to say that that's Brahman? That's one question. And the other one is, what was Arjuna's possible emotional state of mind? Was it one of fear? Was he overwhelmed, confused, or all of the above or more when he saw that form?
Anything that we can experience is ipso facto not Brahman. Anything that is a dualistic experience, experienced, and experiencer, is Shakti. It is the manifest. Brahman is without name or form or any attribute at all. We can gesture toward it and say Satchidananda. But Satchidananda is not a thing. It is said, Brahman does not exist. Brahman is existence itself. Brahman does not know. Brahman is knowledge itself. Brahman does not love. Brahman is love itself. So this is the manifest form of the divine. If you remember, Arjuna asks to see the form of the Atman. This is Brahman manifest within us and without us, within us and without us. Now, as far as what you said, the second question, what was his state of mind? The closest we can come is to read what Sanjaya says about it, and what Arjuna himself says about it. He's just completely overwhelmed, of course, because this is the totality. The divine being has shown him the totality of his manifest being. Of course, Arjuna can't assimilate it all. It's beyond the capacity even of someone with divine sight to assimilate it all. It's because it's infinite. So yes, he was all of those things you said and more. Does that get it?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Anyone else?
Shankara?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I mean, till so far it was like, oh, it's so magnificent, so huge, a little bit beyond my grasp. But the way you put it just now, when you said it is Brahma is not love, not the feeling. I mean, it doesn't love, but it is love. You know, it is not. It doesn't love you, but it is love, and that is the essence. That makes it so simple. We all can become love. You know.
Yes.
And that's why if we have hatred for anybody, then you can't become love, you know. So you made it so simple when you said that. And the second thing is, the question really I had was when you said that when you have a yearning in that, yearning for a guru, and in a few years, it'll surely show up. So my question was, is this yearning one-sided? Like, we yearn for the guru, or the guru also yearns for you, and it's a mutual bonding kind of thing? Because after you reach, there's a bonding, but before that, is it destined that who is the guru? I mean, I don't know whether I'm putting it clearly. What I mean is,
Amrapali, what is said is that the guru-disciple relationship is eternal. Yes, the guru is there from time immemorial. You are there from time immemorial, and you evolve together. Finally, you join, and that which has gone before and has manifested a greater aspect of the divine pulls you into her or his wake and pulls you along And that description that I gave that you said was so simple, yes, indeed it is. And that's because it is Swami Prabhavananda's. You'll find it on the back of one of the books of, maybe it's on the back of How to Know God. And therefore it would be in the introduction or preface or something. But that summary of Brahman does not know, Brahman is knowledge itself. Brahman does not exist. Brahman is existence itself. What does this mean? Everything that partakes of existence is therefore Brahman. Everything that loves is therefore Brahman. And you said it. As long as there is hatred or fear, there cannot be that knowledge of Brahman. Brahman is not affected by our knowledge or not knowledge, but our ignorance. But the Guru is waiting for you patiently, lovingly, for you to arrive and partake. And so that's why when you approach the Guru, you simply ask a question like, "Oh, dear Guru, beloved one, what is the way forward?" You may then ask many, many other questions, but that should be your first question.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? Yes, yes. Anything else from anyone?
Possible that we might not meet our guru in this life, even if we yearn for it, or if we truly yearn for to meet our guru in this life, will.
First of all, your guru need not be embodied. So encountering them in this lifetime may be a different kind of experience than meeting another person. If you're fortunate, you may meet your guru person to person. Your guru is, as I said, what I was told is that the guru-disciple relationship is eternal. So if you yearn for your guru's guidance and you receive some guidance, you may think that although it comes in a dream or comes in a vision or simply arises in your mind so compellingly that it's not, that your arguing mind can't argue with it, you can think of that as coming from the Guru. We may accept or not accept that guidance in the moment. If we can accept it, we'll benefit. If we don't accept it, well, as Swami Swahananda, when he took his first vows, I believe, his brahmacharya vows, he was with another young man who also took vows. And so they then met with the Swami later on that evening. And this was Swami Vijnanananda. And the other young man said, "Well, Swami, you've given me instructions. What happens if I don't follow them?" And the Swami was quiet for a few moments, and then he said, "Well, what would have happened will not happen." So we have our choice at every moment. And this is why Krishna over and over lists the qualifications for being a student who will make progress. And he gives the other list, not by study of this, not by giving the alms, not by rituals. None of those things are going to turn the trick. Only by this intense and prolonged devotion. And you can ask for that devotion. As it says in the evening prayer, fill our hearts full of love for thee. Thou hast finished with fear and with doubt, standing firm in the vision of God, refuge to all who have cast fame, fortune, and friends away. Without question thou shelterest us, and the world's great sea in its wrath seems shrunk to the puddle that fills a hoofprint in the clay. This is the promise. This is the promise of the breaker of the world's chain. This was written by Vivekananda about Sri Ramakrishna, but it's just as true of Christ, just as true of Buddha. So it's up to us where we put our attention and how we make our daily efforts. And it isn't like there's dogma here. You must do this. No, never that. The Lord does not force herself or himself on anyone. When your heart yearns and you say, fill this heart full of love for thee. What did Jesus say so simply and straightforwardly? Ask and you shall receive. If you ask your Father for bread, will he give you a stone? If you ask for a fish, will he give you a serpent? No. Ask and ye shall receive. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. This is the eternal and everlasting promise. And there's a beautiful, beautiful poem. You can find it. Certainly you can find it if you go look in the book Love Poems from God. It's by Saint Teresa of Avila, and it's called Every Prophet's Name. And that it makes that promise right at the end. Every prophet's name is a key to this, as is every heart full of compassion and love. This is good. Anything more?
Brother Shankara.
Yes.
Yes, I had a question about something you said at the end about, so you said, Brahman doesn't know Brahman is knowledge itself. Brahman can't be experienced. It is experience itself. And then...
No. Brahman does not experience.
Brahman doesn't.
Brahman is Satchidananda. Brahman does not experience. Brahman is experience itself. Brahman does not know. Brahman is knowledge itself. Brahman does not love. Brahman is love itself. So yes, you can, and the word, it can't be said, it's not experience, because experience is a dualistic word. So that word is replaced in the vocabulary of this kind of talk with realization. You can realize Brahman. And you can realize Brahman the attributeless. You can become one with what is called the void or nirvana. And again, this is what happens when the vibrations that make our reality are stilled. when there's no longer any vibrations within the mind stuff, which is throughout your body, it's not just in your head. When there are no vibrations there, as Vivekananda says, your universe disappears. The universe that we all share doesn't disappear. Your participation in it disappears. And something else replaces it. Something that when you return from that, you say, oh my goodness, my participation in this world of sense is just another kind of dream. So does that say it, Liam, or is there something more?
Yeah, so what I would, yeah, and that cleared it up, because, so I guess the experience, and now I recall you mentioned the experience is the manifestations, that's Shakti, right?
That's Shakti.
Okay,
That's yes.
yeah. Okay.
But Sri Ramakrishna said, Brahman and Shakti, one and the same being, two forms of being, two ways of being. Water, he used the analogy, water still, water in waves, same water.
Mm.
So when we are experiencing Shakti, and we're experiencing it now, we just don't experience it very deeply. We don't experience it nearly as deeply as we can, because we're so distracted by our thoughts and feelings and perceptions and projections and memories and all that stuff that fill up our mind stuff. So the more that's still, the more our mind quiets, the more is revealed. The more, and it's still a dualistic experience. With meditation itself is a dualistic experience. Samadhi is not the highest samadhi. Good, Liam. Excellent. Anything more?
To return to what Amrapali had said about hatred and fear, the chapter ends with, free from attachment and without hatred toward any creature, that man, O Prince, shall enter into me.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose we catch ourselves feeling hatred towards some malevolent creature who's done us harm. How do we deal with that? Because we want to free ourselves from that, clearly.
A poem. The title of the poem is Both Parties.
Both parties.
When I know I am both parties to every transaction, that which leads and that which follows in every dance, then I can smile, forgive, oh, the last line is escaping me.
Who wrote this poem?
Me.
Okay.
So smile, forgive. In any event, the meaning is that I can then go on to know that I am one with that, one with which is both parties. We have to remind ourselves, praiser praised and blamer blamed are one, as it says in Vivekananda's Song of the Sannyasin. When we catch ourselves, that's an absolutely wonderful feat all by itself. You have caught the mind in its tricks, because it will obsess on things and continue to distract us from the truth. So when you catch yourself, you're leagues down the road. Then just remind yourself, that being that persecuted me and my being persecuted was one and the same. And one of the saints in this book, Love Poems from God, when he finds his teacher says, now, here's your first exercise. Forgive everyone who ever hurt you. And the student says, why? Because they're the ones who brought you to me. If we don't have the pain, we don't move.
That's
that
true.
correct?
I've often felt that if this world were a heaven, we wouldn't think about God because we'd be
Of course,
having a good
yeah.
time.
Aha, this is the difficulty with the devas. This is the difficulty with the devas. They can be with God, but they can't reflect on it. You hit exactly on it, Ramadas, exactly. If this
Ramadas,
were a
what
heaven,
did
we
you
would
say?
not. Yes, please, Amarpali.
Can you repeat, Ramadas, what you said just now?
Oh, yeah. I said that, like, this world is often a terrible place full of terrible human beings who do a lot of harm. And, we might hate them, but at the same time, if this world were a heaven, if this world were a wonderful place where everybody's like having fun, it was great, we wouldn't think of God. We would just be enjoying it.
True.
So these terrible people did, in a sense, bring us to God. They at least brought us here.
This is the, I wish I could quote the lines from that saint, but that's the message. Your first assignment is to forgive everyone who harmed you. And the student says, well, why? Why should I do that? And the teacher says, because they're the ones who brought you to me. And, let's remember, the student has found his teacher. And this is a reflection that he's making on years later on how he came to find his teacher and the first lesson his teacher gave him.
Namaste, Brother Shankara. Namaste, Brahmadas. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all the and everything. I just a thought to share about this suffering or hatred. I don't say. I also look at like Brahmadas was saying about dislike for someone and someone who has brought suffering to us. But I also look at physical suffering or anything. I'm just start to share. What about the law of karma here? Injecting the law of karma, saying that this is my karma. That person is just an instrument. And for example, I'm having a physical pain, plantar fasciitis, and it is so terrible that, it's unbearable. And I was talking to my wife, and I said, you know what? This is definitely I've done something. There is no doubt that this intense suffering. It's not. I cannot just blame someone else. It is just to blame me. It has to be like that. So that's just my thought. It's physical suffering or mental or emotional or anything. The law of karma, I think. Just a thought, yeah.
First of all, Shailesh, prayers for relief from your suffering. I'm so sorry to hear it. This is one of the greatest challenges that we face. Swami Swahananda always said to his doctors, do not let me experience pain, no matter what happens. Keep me from experiencing pain, because it's such a terrible distraction. And so it's good that you're able to see it in this way. And remember that what Holy Mother says, that chanting the name of the Lord and his glory reduces our karmic load, our karmic debt. If just to review the little instance, the disciple asked her, "Do you mean, Mother, then that I won't experience anything?" And she said, "No. If you were to have a terrible sword wound, you won't have that sword wound, but you will have a pinprick." So this is the guidance from Sri Sharada Devi about how to relieve our suffering. But it comes to all of us. You're absolutely right, Shailesh, and I'm very sorry to hear that you're experiencing this very, very bad pain.
No, I'm mentally very, very well settled. You know, this is just one pain. I have so many pains going on in the body, and there has to be some. I think the spiritual practice, coming to Vedanta, coming to the center, getting associated with our tradition for so long, it is a blessing because it does not affect me mentally at all. The physical pain goes on. You know, like I like to read all the reminiscences of direct disciples and their disciples, and all these monks in our order, they had terrible suffering. You know, Swami Yogeshananda's guru, Swami Yatishwarananda, when he was on his deathbed in Belur Mutt, he said, "Man, I mean, he was completely exhausted with that pain and suffering." And such a realized soul, vice president of the order, if I understand. And
Yes, he was.
so if those people, so those people, if they have to go through all that, so who are we?
Right, and I was actually in DC at the DC Center on the day that Swami Atmajnananda got his hand caught in a wood lathing machine and lost 2 fingers. And I thought, whoa, I mean, God does not seem to protect his holy men. That was a real shocker for me.
You know, but if you don't come to that conclusion, Brahmadas. If you want to understand what happened, ask Atmajnananda about it. It's not that he does not protect his holy men. Atmajnananda, there was something for Atmajnananda to learn as well. So he wasn't able to escape that simply by being a monk. And as Shailesh just pointed out about Yatishwarananda and many, many others. So if you want to know what Atmajnananda thinks about why he had to lose those fingers, ask him.
Okay, yeah, I'll give him a call and ask him. Yeah, we're still in touch.
Good, I'm glad. Okay, well, it's well after 9. We'll start with chapter 12 next week. Any final thoughts from anyone?
I just want to say I really liked your comment about chanting, and as I've been chanting on a more regular basis the past few days, I've realized that working through my own suffering, when I say the chants, I know that every time I say my mantra, I become a step closer to God, and that's a great thing, a great comfort.
That is exactly what Holy Mother says. You're right, Aaron.
Brother Shankara, this is Haima.
Yes, Haima.
I just have one comment about forgiveness. Forgiveness is for our sake, not for others who exploited us
Right.
or hurt us. It's when we forgive, we find peace inside our heart. We don't have that rage. We don't have that volcano inside us. We relieve that volcano.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that was the meaning of that teacher saying, forgive them all, so that your heart is relieved. Not
for others.
The other people may or may not care about your forgiveness at all.
Exactly. They may not even acknowledge it but at least in your heart, you let it go. Let it go to God. Let God take care of it. That's it. Just wanted to make that comment.
Very, very well said. Thank you, Jaime.
Forgiveness in my profession, a great deal. That's how I put it that way. So thank you so much for the time. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Everybody's comments.
Thank you all for being here. Anything else? Any last thoughts or comments?
A little thing.
Yes, Amrapali?
Yeah, I mean, going from that talk of forgiveness, sometimes those people who are doing the thing to you or comment that they said so meanly or sharply, they don't even realize it is more for us. In that sense, it's more your job and work to relieve it, because the other person doesn't even realize how he hurt you. But my question was that when you said about the blame and the blamer is one, and I keep hearing that in different ways, but it's a projection of what's in your heart, that is, you see projected outside in the world. So I understand the part where I'm minimizing it or exaggerating it or maximizing it, because when you react to something, you become the abuser. First you become the victim, then the abuser, it goes on, then you hurt somebody else. So I understand that part, that it's blown up or minimized by the person. But I don't want the answer today. It can be another long discussion, because I want to know how everything then becomes your responsibility. It almost is as I'm projecting all the atrocities, the problems in the world. Is it everything our projection, my projection? I'm sure it's collective projection.
Whose else could it possibly be, Amrapali?
So you are saying that you're responsible for everything that happens in your life, in short.
Who is responsible? You're identifying yourself with your personality. Your personality is just another part of the projection. It's just a membership that you have in this society that you learned, this personality. So if you wish to penetrate beyond that, then you make the spiritual effort on a continual basis, persevering and being patient. Make that effort. And so then the understanding comes that there is only one, and the instrument of that one is the gunas. As Sri Krishna says to us so very clearly in chapter 3, our experiences are nothing more than the gunas attaching themselves to gunas. So is that your responsibility? No, your reaction is your responsibility. How you behave in the face of that. Go back and read chapter 3, please. Read chapters 2 and 3. And listen carefully to what Krishna says about how our reality is created. He is doing it, or she, if you choose to think of Krishna as an objectification of Shakti. He says, I'm doing this through the instrumentality of the gunas. Don't be deluded into thinking it is you. So what becomes our responsibility? Our dispelling of ignorance and our reaction to our continuing ignorance. And so when Vivekananda says, praiser praised and blamer blamed are one, he's talking about that divine presence behind. And I know that doesn't clear it all up, because the only way to clear it up is to spend sufficient time in contemplation, concentration, and meditation to where you begin to see clearly. Because your mind becomes sufficiently calm, you begin to see clearly that things are happening in your presence. They are not you. You are the witness. things are happening in your presence. Shailesh alluded to that earlier when he said, he's fine. There's these experiences, but he's fine. Does that make sense? So it's only by calming our mind to the point where we begin to see clearly that life is what happens in your presence. It's like a movie you're watching. So are you doing it? No. Sri Krishna is very clear about that. You don't have the wherewithal to do it. It's far too complicated for us. So as Vivekananda says, we're infinite dreamers dreaming finite dreams. So it's not somebody else doing it. It's not us doing it. It's happening. And the only thing we're responsible for, really and truly, is our reaction.
Surely when we chant, we feel I can feel the difference of the way I react and way I mean, it's just like a rain, it just goes away. And other times you absorb it and.
The thing to do is make sure that you're making every effort to chant to do your spiritual practice at the very least every morning. If you can, every morning and every evening. You'll make faster progress that way.
And Brother Shankara, the comment you'd made, remember, I don't remember which session, you'd said sit on the edge of your bed and surrender the day to Mother. And I am doing that.
Good.
It's really helping. I love the way you said it, sit on the edge of your seat. And so it's like, before I get out of the bed, I remember, edge of your seat.
Yes.
Hold to my seat and do that. And it gets.
Yes, as you sit on the edge of the bed, offer the day to the divine. And then at the end of the day, offer the results of the day to the divine before you sleep. And then offer the night. Offer your experience of the night. The dreams, the sleep, the dreams, the dreamless sleep. Offer it all. And all that arises, and all that flows from what arises in the form of actions and their results. Offer all that before you lie down to sleep. You'll sleep more peacefully. Ramadas, did you have something else? I think both of you started to talk at once. Is there still something?
Just a response to what Haima and Amrapali had said about the forgiveness and what Aaron said about the repetition of our mantra. Shailesh and I were talking about this the other day. Sometimes, though we utter these words with our lip, they find no echo in our heart. Yet, if you keep uttering it, they do start to find a little echo in your heart. And that's just
yes, you'll find, in fact, that the heart is where it's coming from. That is simply reflected in the mind. And you do it often enough, long enough, you'll find that it's always there. The mantra is always there. And it comes to mind and allows us to redirect our attention away from pain and suffering, away from other distractions, temptations, so
on. Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Just to sort of maybe end on a lighter note.
Oh, goodness.
How, the perception by our sense organs can be so erroneous. I was sitting at a different angle and looking at my laptop, and your hair and your beard and everything was appearing like a dark brown. And your skin was dark. And I said, this is not Brother Shankara. It's somebody else. And then I came and got the right angle, and here you are. So,
well, you're right. If we look at one of these screens at a peculiar angle, we're not seeing what's being directed at, meant to be directed at our eyes. All right then. Oh, dearly beloved, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om, Amen. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. So good night, everyone. It's been a delight. And on a lighter note, we'll see one another again as soon as Saturday morning, if you wish.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
So,
thank you, Brother Shankara. Good night.
good night, good night.
Thank you, Brother
Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga.
Shankara.
Go in Mother's loving and protective embrace. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, dears.